Guys, this is Alexis, Sophie Leather. Welcome back. This is part 2 of dyeing a leather strap. For me specifically, it's a radio strap. But it is now morning time. I dyed it. If you haven't checked out part 1, make sure you check out part 1. I dyed it and it's the next day. I left it overnight. It's a little bit humid here in Florida, so I let it settle overnight. But yeah, so we're here the next morning, about 12 hours later, and let's see what we got. Okay, so we're gonna start from the tip, and I just want to show you how uniform this came out. Obviously you could see some slight imperfections, but this is a natural product. So I'm just gonna slide this so you could see how this came out, okay? And then we'll zoom out and look at the whole thing. But there was one issue, and that's particularly right, but this is right where the letters are at. And I'll go over that in a second. And it's barely noticeable. In fact, I actually don't see it anymore, but I'll explain that here in a second. So because the dye kind of pooled in the recesses of the stamp, what happened was, I don't know if you check out my last video, when I flipped it this way to do the edges, that kind of ran out of those grooves and kind of puddled up a little bit. So right where that stamp is a little darker around there, I think moving forward, in order to remedy that, once I just do the top and it kind of sits in there and saturates, I'll go ahead and take my rag and kind of soak up some of that stuff that's pooling to prevent that. But really, it's barely noticeable, but it's something that I noticed. And it's not the end of the world. It still looks pretty clean. But now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna try to get off some of this rub off. First, I'm gonna go dry. So I want you to see that there's nothing. Oh wow, it's really bright right there. I'm sorry about that. But I'm gonna rub this off and see if I get anything. I don't get much. Okay, I don't get much. But what I am gonna do is, in this pot here, I have neat's foot oil. I'm gonna go ahead and answer this phone. No, I'm not. I'm gonna put a little bit of neat's foot oil on this rag right here. Just a little bit. So I got a little bit of neat's foot on this, and I'm just gonna rub this across. I'm gonna introduce a little bit more oil in there, but really what I wanna do is really rub this down and kind of buff this out. And you'll see it kind of brings it to life. And it does take off a little bit. And I'm gonna just keep rubbing this and buffing this down with this microfiber rag. Okay, I got myself a clean spot. And what I'm trying to do is see if I can really get some rub off on here. Where you're really gonna find rub off is on the edges. Okay, but we'll remedy that when we put the radio strap together. And I'm just gonna keep working this till very minimal rub off comes off. And of course, what you can do is put a little finisher on top when you're all done to help seal that. I like tan coat is what I use when I have to dye stuff. But for my particular product, this is one of the reasons why I put a natural backing on here, because this product sits across the shoulders, and it tends to really mark up guys' shirts, their work shirts. So I always put natural Vegetan in the back so it doesn't do that. I'll show you what this product looks like. That's the final product, what it looks like. So I always put natural backing so that to prevent any rub off. I add a little neat's foot. It's still a little blotchy on there. I'm gonna let that settle in. And most of the rub off came off. And that's how you dye a piece of leather strap. One thing I do want to mention is that if you want to see the finished product, I'm going to be using this project for other videos. So, all right, what I want to show you now is this product calls for the name to be in black. I'm going to do that, but I'm not even going to brave trying to paint that. I don't do that kind of small detail painting. And you see that, my maker's mark? What I want to do is antique that section a little bit. I want to antique it. So the problem I think I'm going to run into is that if I antique just that small section, the antique, even though it's not supposed to saturate in the leather, it's supposed to just sit in the grooves. My experience is even if you get a little bit on the other ungrooved sections of the leather, it still dye it just a little bit. So I'm afraid that if I just want to localize that just to this area, that around it's going to look kind of wonky. Worst case scenario, I'm going to try my hardest. In this video, I'm going to do it. I'm going to try my hardest just to keep it localized to that flag and keep it localized to that. Worst case scenario is if I don't and it looks a little off around it, then I'll just run a quick antique across the whole thing. And this way it'll be a little bit more uniform. So let me go grab those products. So what I have here is Fiebing's Antique Finish. They have a couple different colors. I think they have a dark brown. I think they have a mahogany or burgundy is what they call it. But medium brown, to me, looks the nicest. I have that. I have a jacked up rag here that I might not even use. Another one of those sponges. But I'm gonna see if I can use a Q-tip so I can really focus on those little areas. And then I'll probably not even use this guy. I might throw this guy out, to be honest with you. It's gone. I'm just going ahead and I'm gonna use this to get that out of there. So let's go ahead and let's try this and see what happens. Like I said, worst case scenario, we're gonna have to antique this whole thing. So I'm just gonna go ahead and grab a little antique. Just a little bit, not a lot. I don't think I need much for this little flag. So I just scooped up some antique there, and let's see if I can get it just into this flag. What I'm trying to do is push some of this product down into these grooves here, and it's not wanting to work. I might have to get more than I thought and really just mash it in there. Now, antique's not a dye. It kind of sits in the grooves there. And when you wipe it off, you're wiping everything out of it, and this sits in the groove. I don't know if that makes any sense. So this just gives it that antiqued tooled look, is what this does. And I'm really not, some of the stuff is just not getting in. I'm ending up putting more than I want to in here. All right, so that's in there. I'm gonna go ahead and bring the other section in. I'm gonna let that sit for just a little bit, and we're gonna go ahead and see if we can get to my name here. This is supposed to be an imperfect look anyway. That's my excuse for making it not look perfect. But my worry is that around it, see how around it is hitting that? I'm afraid that that's going to be, you'll notice that. And if that's the case, then we're just going to have to antique the whole thing. But I'm not really worried about it. It's supposed to be subtle. I'm throwing this Q-tip out. Q-tip is being thrown out. I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to leave this out just in case. And now we're going to come here and we're going to try to wipe this guy and see what happens. Now I wonder if I should just, you see what I'm talking about? How it left that black area around it? That's exactly what I was talking about. And that effectively did nothing except make it black like I said it was gonna happen. All right, so you're my witness. What I thought was gonna happen actually happened. And you see how it's a little darker in this area? And you see how around that got a little bit darker? So we're gonna fix that by antiquing the whole thing. So let's do that. I am gonna put gloves on, antique here, that little dresser sponge I was talking about, and I'm just gonna get a good, now what I'm doing is this is gonna be a super light. Wow, that's kind of got hard over there, so I'm gonna go ahead and just use the other side. Now what I wanna do here is just put it everywhere, and this is gonna be a light coat over everything, because what I wanna do is now I just kinda wanna make it uniform. So this is gonna be a little like darker overall. It's gonna give that red a deeper look. I wonder if I should try to get into these letters. I might as well. I'm gonna go ahead and try to squeeze some of this down into the grooves of the name here. Since we're here. Same thing over here. Yeah, okay. I'm happy with that. This will give it a more rustic, authentic, stressed look, I suppose. And not for nothing, those numbers look kind of good like that. I'm gonna send a picture to the customer and see if he wants to leave it like that, because it kind of created an outline, to be honest with you. And this looks kind of sharp. I'm not gonna lie, this was an accident, and it ended up turning out really, really good. So that is it for the antiquing. Now what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna let this sit for a little bit so that it can get a little darker. And then I'll wipe it off. I took my gloves off. I don't know why I just did that. That was not smart. Why did I do that? All right. Now I gotta do this on camera. But anyway, while I do my gloves, look at the letters, how they came out. So we accidentally made something awesome. I like this look. This is how I make my, I call them the dragon slayers, where I tool this and it looks like dragon scales. This is what I do. I always antique. And it does look pretty sharp. It's not so flat looking. But I'm gonna go ahead and just wipe this down. I'm gonna be careful not to pull up any of this stuff that's in the letters, because I want that to sit in there. And I just did. I said I didn't want to, but I actually pulled some up. Wow. So now I gotta grab that. Hi. Now I gotta grab from the garbage can that Q-tip right on this A right here. All right, so what I just realized is I'm gonna have to let this sit a lot longer than expected. But for the most part, she's done. Let me get some of the stuff off the sides, guys. Just wanted to get rid of, that's the other thing too, on the sides, it kind of made it a little darker. I don't know if you can see that. I think that looks pretty sharp. Yeah, I like this look, to be honest with you. So I'm not gonna be really rough here. I'm just gonna take this off. A lot of that stuff's off already. And I'll show you what that looks like. All right, so there you have it. This is dyed red, antiqued with antique medium brown. We kind of winged it during the video on that one. I do like that look. Of course, you don't have to antique, but one thing to keep in mind and to note is if you just want to localize an antique, if it hits the face of the leather and not your grooves or your stamping, it's gonna modify a little. It's gonna get darker right there. So because of that, I had to go over the whole thing antiqued. Not a big deal. It looks sharp. I'm gonna answer this phone. I'm not gonna answer the phone. But I'm gonna send this to the customer and see if he still wants me to paint those letters black. I like that look, we'll see what he says. Now what I'm gonna do is let that sit and treat it like any other strap leather. I usually get English bridle already dyed from the factory. I usually get Herman Oak English bridle in black, I get it in Havana, and I get it in British brown. So now I will treat this the same way like I do any other project. That's it, and at the end, I'll put some finisher on there, my secret sauce, and then I'll finish it off with that tan coat. Let me show you that, by the way. I don't know if I showed you that. I'll talk a little bit about the tan coat. Wow, I forgot I got the big jug. And Don Gonzalez, I'm sure you guys watch him. He uses this because it leaves a nice little top coat, but it's still penetrable, so you can still oil your project and you can still condition it. If you use something else like a Resolene or like acrylic top coat, then nothing's gonna penetrate or have a hard time penetrating. So I use the top coat. This will be my last finish on top, and that'll help with the bleeding as well. But like you saw, there wasn't much, and to prevent that anyway, I put a natural backing on it. But that's all I got for you guys. God bless you. Thank you very much for watching, and I hope you enjoyed the video. Bye.